7.3, Monopolistic Competition and Oligopoly. What is monopolistic competition? A monopolistic competition is a market in which many companies sell products that are similar but not identical. The example your book gives is jeans, like Levi's, Lee's. I think Calvin Klein has jeans too, I'm not sure. They differ in style and color. There are 4 conditions of monopolistic competition. Many firms, few artificial barriers to entry, little control over price, and differentiated products. As a rule, monopolistically competitive markets are not marked by economies of scale. They do not have high startup costs, and new firms spring up quickly because firms can begin selling goods and earning money after a small initial investment. Few artificial barriers to entry. Patents do not protect anyone from competition, either because they have expired or because each firm sells a product that is distinct enough to fall outside the zone of patent protection. If you don't know what a patent is, it's something that you acquire that basically says this is yours and nobody else can use it. You might, if you watch Shark Tank, you might hear them talk about patents often. It's not always the product, it's something about the product. So like the Velcro, they have this, it's like the guy based it off of a bird. It's a hook and a loop, and he patented that. They don't last forever, but they do protect you from competition for a while. But like they say, you're not protected. It includes so many competing firms that producers cannot work together to keep out new competitors. Little control over price. Each firm's goods are a little different from everyone else's, and some people are willing to pay more for the difference. This allows them to raise or lower their prices. If prices rise too high, consumers will buy a rival's product. For example, orange juice. Some people would prefer to get name brand orange juice over just generic, even if it costs 50 cents more. But if the price went up $2, they might actually switch to generic, just because they're not willing to pay that much more for something that's similar. Differentiated products. The ability to differentiate goods is the main way that monopolistic competition differs from perfect competition. Differentiation is making a product different from other similar products. It enables a monopolistically competitive seller to profit from the differences between his or her products and competitors' products. Non-price competition. Non-price competition is a way to attract customers through style, service, or location, but not a lower price. And it takes several different forms, including physical characteristics, location, service level, advertising image, or status. So for physical characteristics, the simplest way for a firm to distinguish its products is to offer a new size, color, shape, texture, or taste. Example, running shoes, pens, cars, and toothpaste. So for running shoes, all shoes are pretty much the same. They're made the same, they look the same, but there are small differences that people will pay more for. The same is true for pens and cars and toothpaste. Location. Real estate agents say there are the 3 most important factors when buying property are location, location, and location. This includes gas stations, movie theaters, and grocery stores, and they succeed or fail based on their locations. So if a gas station was in the middle of the desert, 100 miles from the closest town, they would not make enough money. There are several gas stations in town that are located in a place that makes sense and they'll make profits there. And the movie theater and the grocery stores too. Advertising, image, or status. Firms use advertising to point out differences between their own products and others. These differences are often more a matter of perception than reality. For example, name brand t-shirts versus generic t-shirts. Again, all t-shirts are pretty much the same. They might have, Under Armour makes it wicks sweat off, and that's how they differentiate from other shirts. And it's crazy expensive compared to a shirt that you might get from Walmart. Prices and output. Prices are higher under monopolistic than in perfect competition. However, the number of firms and ease of entry prevent companies from raising prices if there was a true monopoly. Output. The law of demand says that output and price are negatively related. Monopolistically competitive firms sell their products at higher prices than perfectly competitive firms, but at lower prices than a monopoly. As a result, output is between that of a monopoly and perfect competition. I don't know what's going on there, but I'll just... Like perfectly competitive firms, monopolistically competitive firms earn just enough to cover all their costs, including their workers' salaries. If they make a profit, then there's two ways that those profits will get taken away. First, fierce competition would encourage rivals to find new ways to differentiate their products. The example they give is like if a company hired a basketball star to promote their brand, which is the case often. Another company might hire a singer, a famous singer, to rival that. Second, new firms will enter the market with slightly different products that cost less than market leaders. If the original good costs too much, customers will switch to these substitutes. You've seen this happen when a brand name line of clothing or a video game becomes popular. Competitors will quickly flood the market to try and get their customers to buy something that's cheaper if they don't really care about having the same quality. Oligopoly is a market structure in which a few large firms dominate a market. So basically, to be considered an oligopoly, it has to have 4 of the largest firms controlling like 70 to 80% of the output. And it's an imperfect form of a monopoly because it's not one company, it's several. For example, in the US, air travel, automobiles, breakfast cereals, and household appliances. So like for automobiles, it's like Chevy, Ford, Toyota. There's not very many companies that sell automobiles, and they control a large amount of the market. Barriers to entry. An oligopoly can form when significant barriers to entry keep new companies from entering the market to compete with existing firms. These barriers can be technological, or they can be created by a system of government licenses and patents. For example, soft drinks, Pepsi versus Coke. A lot of people don't want to make a new soft drink company because Coca-Cola and Pepsi are so far ahead. Like they have a lot of factories, they have a lot of products out, and they have loyal customers. So for example, at the theater, we're Coca-Cola. We can't sell Pepsi products because we don't belong to Coca-Cola, but that's like our company. Cooperation and collusion. Oligopoly presents a challenge to governments because oligopolistic firms often seem to work together when they are not. So they're not doing anything illegal because they're not going in a meeting and discussing how they're going to set their prices, what they're going to make. It just happens. Price leadership, collusion, and cartels pose the greatest threat to consumers. Price leaders can set prices for entire industries. A price war is a series of competitive price cuts that lower the market price below the cost of production. So, for a car company, if Chevy cut their prices, then Ford would also start to cut their prices in an attempt to get more customers. Collusion is an illegal agreement among firms to divide the market, set prices, or limit production. So, cartel is a formal organization of producers that agree to coordinate prices and production. It's stronger than a collusion, and although other countries and international organizations allow them, they're illegal in the US. They usually don't last very long because everyone has to participate. If somebody decided that they wanted to cut their prices, then it just kind of topple. In the book it says cartels are legal. OPEC is perhaps the most familiar international cartel. And OPEC is oil. It stands for Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. It says it controls 74.9% of oil reserves, which falls between that 70-80% range. I think that's all.